and I'm like on the way home. Got it. Oh, wow, I got a whole notification of you recording.
I know now we're live.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So you were saying that you had a really long drive home.
Yeah, so I finished my tattoo at like 11:30 in Chicago time, so it's central, so it was 12:30 here. I got on the road and like the first hour and a half I was okay, and then it just hit me and I was like exhausted. Stopped at a gas station, took a nap, and then I'm like, I'm so tired. I was like seeing everything, but not really seeing everything, you know?
That's scary. That's not a very good state to be driving in.
No, but then my best friend called me. He stayed on the phone with me till I got home.
Oh,
I
that
got
was
home at
nice.
like 6 in the morning.
Wow. That's a hell of a long drive. Why didn't you just stay in Chicago? Don't you know a bunch of people out there?
I do, but like I didn't tell anybody I was going out there. I just went there to do my tattoo and come back.
Gotcha.
But
Incognito.
I woke up at 5, drove 4 hours out there, worked out there, then did a 12-hour tattoo and then drove 4 hours back.
Oh my gosh, such a long day. And that's really bold, like pulling off into a gas station and taking a nap. I would never do that.
I feel bad for whoever's gonna open the door and see my bald head, big ass. I'm like, oh
Right.
damn.
You're probably not one that someone would approach and mess with, but
Yeah.
I
No.
would be a different story, I think.
Yeah. You shouldn't do it at all.
No, definitely not.
No. No.
Granted, out of all of the women that could possibly be approached, I don't look the most inviting either. So I typically have a RBF, and I'm not the most petite woman out there either. So, but still, I wouldn't
I
risk
don't know. I don't know about that one.
it.
Unless that's because I met you at a mutual place where you didn't have to put up that, back
True.
off face. So
That's very true. Yeah.
I didn't get that vibe.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, usually when like I'm in the gym training, I am so incognito. Like the headphones are on, the hoodie is up. I'm just
Mhm.
like, don't talk to me, face. I'm in my zone, which is funny because you are the complete opposite. You're like Mr. Energy in the gym.
Yeah, it's just I have fun, and sometimes I feel bad because sometimes like you always have those days where you're just in a zone. You had long week. You're just trying to do your thing in the gym, and
Hmm.
those days are sometimes the days people approach me and I look like don't mess with me kind of face.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to cuss on here or no?
Oh, yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, okay. I usually look like don't fuck around with me, like just leave me alone. And that happened one time at a gym, and I was working out, had my bag, and I'm walking, and this guy like tried to do one of these, take off his headphones, and I just kept walking.
Yeah.
And eventually he saw me sitting down. He's like, "Hey, I didn't really want to interrupt you." And he was like so hesitant, and I smiled. I'm like, "No, you're good." He's like, "Okay, okay, you're nice." you
It's like
know.
I didn't really want to interrupt you, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, but he was very respectful. He was like, I don't want to take from your time. And he actually has been following me. Not many people know. So I built a whole gym during quarantine. Okay. That whole year, I had a whole gym. I never missed a day. I literally bought gym equipment. I had 1,000 pounds of plates. I had every
Wow.
type of bar. Yeah. All these things I had. And he been following me since then. So
Wow.
since Corona, he's like, I saw you working out in your gym. It was so motivation. I'm like, oh, you're an OG.
That's
You
awesome.
know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
I'm
cool.
sure you get a lot of people that stop you in the gym.
I mean, yeah, you got to witness it. You told somebody that I was coming. He literally came at the same time.
So, and that was so funny how that happened. So backstory for other people. You and I were both in Tampa at the exact same time, training at the
Mhm.
same gym, powerhouse out in Tampa. And there was this guy that I was just chatting with. He was a power lifter, super cool dude, really freaking strong. I think he broke the world record on his bench a couple weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. But
Mhm.
anyways, so he had brought you up in conversation. And he asked me, like, oh, I follow this guy on Instagram, this, that, and the other. And I was like, oh, yeah, like him and I just did a commentary together on Chicago, whatever, real cool dude. And I said, like, oh, he's going to be here tomorrow. And he just, like, his face lit up. He was like texting me the rest of the night, like, what time is he going to be there? I'm like, I don't know. And then I think he got there like 2 or 3 hours before like the time that you actually got there, literally just waiting for you.
That's, I mean, crazy in a good way,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, I was literally working out and I thought that was your friend. And he just comes up to me and like, starts chopping it up with me. And I'm like, do we know each other? And that's the funniest part when people come up to you is they act like you know them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know me, but I don't know you. Like, you should introduce yourself, like in a nice way.
Exactly. Yeah. I just met him like a day or two before too. Like I haven't known
Oh,
him for
I thought he was your best friend.
no. I mean, him and I
I
were
was
just
so confused.
Yeah, I mean, him and I were just chatting it up, but no, the friend that I was with was also like, he's from the Middle East as well, which is the guy that I wanted you to meet because I know y'all would hit it off.
Uh-huh.
But no,
That's,
totally different person.
yeah, I figured that part.
Yeah. So let's talk about your tattoo for a second. So you had sent me a video just like a couple hours ago. I don't think you posted it on Instagram yet, but
I never do.
you don't? Why
I
is
don't
that?
talk about my tattoos. I
Oh,
just, I mean, I don't mind talking about it
yeah.
here,
I was gonna say we
but
can
I'm not
if we
one.
don't talk about it.
No, no, no. I told you we could talk about anything. No, I don't. I'm not one to get tattoos and like post them. I
Gotcha.
never been. You know, I get
Gotcha.
them for me. I don't really care to show them off on the gram or, you know, I'll send them to my friends that are like into tattoos and into art. So I'll show them that. But most people don't know I have tattoos until they see me post a workout. And they're like, oh shit, you got a tattoo. I'm like, yeah, that was like 6 months ago, you know?
Yeah. I
So
like that though, that you just get them for you and it's not something that you want to show off.
yeah, and that's why I did my whole leg. I feel like it's easier to cover. Not many people see. You
Yeah.
know, I wear pants at work, so nobody can ever tell I'm tatted up.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's like deep meaning behind all of them too, if that's the case.
Oh, it's a whole storyline from the first one I got to the last one I got. You know, everything is kind of. I tell my what's cool about my tattoo artist is I tell him the story, I tell him what I like, and it's just he puts the whole masterpiece together. And
That's
we usually
awesome.
take about 2 hours before we even start tattooing.
Wow. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I kind of like that, like going in with a concept and then letting the artist like create what they think is going to best depict that versus, coming in with your own idea. And I think that's fine too, but I would really like to get the artist opinion, especially if I was to get a bigger piece. Like I have a couple tattoos, but it's not like they're not big pieces or a little bit smaller. All of them have meaning behind them. But if I was to get something big, I would definitely want the artist to really have a say into what that is going to look like and how best to tell whatever story that is. And, because
Mm,
like different skin texture, like the texture of your skin is different and the way that the piece is going to look on you is going to be different than it would on somebody else, or, skin
true.
tones and all those things. So I think it's really important to have their opinion and their
I agree. I mean, it's similar to everything in life. Most people try to like say you're a coach and somebody comes to you and they're like, I can only do these things. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, so why are you getting a coach if you're limiting my, you know, work of art that I could help you with? So it's kind
Exactly.
of similar in all of it, kind of, you know.
Absolutely.
I give them complete freedom.
But you have to have a lot of trust in that artist though before you're
I
able to
do.
do that. Yeah.
I do. Because
Yeah.
I couldn't even see what he's doing.
Yeah, it's on the back of your leg. So it's like, well,
Yeah.
hope that looks good. Well, from the
Right.
video, I think it looks awesome.
I mean, I think that's my favorite piece now.
Yeah, it looks really cool. How did it feel driving back from Chicago with a brand new tattoo on the back of your leg?
When I would sit, it like gives me a little bit of a sting because it's numb, and then it
Mhm.
would go away because
Yeah.
I'm also exhausted. So it's kind of like not there,
Yeah.
you know. But then when I stopped at the gas station, I went to get some water, and I was like limping, like walking like a crippled, and people were just looking at me like, "What's wrong with this guy?"
Yeah.
I was also wearing shorts at like a 25-degree weather,
Yeah.
so I looked crazy.
Yeah. Because when those tattoos, like when they start to scab over, the skin gets super tight. And then once you start to move, it just feels like it's ripping apart.
Yeah, and he has this like film. I think it's skin film or something like that. I don't know
Hmm.
what it's called.
Yeah.
So he
I don't think
uses
they
it
do
to
the
put it
saran
on.
wrap anymore.
No, no, and he
Yeah.
gave me extra pieces. They're really expensive too.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've gotten a tattoo. And last time I got one, they did the whole saran wrap thing. But now when I see people with fresh tattoos, it's like this little like sticky thing.
Yeah, and they like move it, and it's really thin. It sits with your skin, like, and you keep it on for 5 days. It doesn't even come off.
Dang. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about your background, just because I find it very interesting. So you originally are not from the US.
No, I am. Well, I'm from everywhere. So I was born. Long story short, or we have all the time in the world. I was born in Iraq.
Mhm.
And at 3 years old, we fled the country. We fled. When we fled, we basically kind of split. My dad was, you know, trying to getting chased by the government and all that, you know, BS going on in Iraq. And so we had to separate. So my mom had to take care of me, my older brother, and older sister.
Wow.
I was 3 years old, and we went to Jordan. And we stayed in Jordan for a couple days. I'm not sure how long. And then from there, we went to Syria, and that whole time there was no phones, there was no communication. So we don't know what happened to my dad. We don't know if he's alive or not. And from there, eventually he came to Syria and we stayed there for about 8 years. And right when my dad decided that we're going back to Iraq, that's it, we're never going to go to USA. They're not going to give us our immigrant papers and, let us come out here. They came out and we ended up coming here 2005. I was about 11 years old.
Wow. What was that transition like?
I hated it.
What did you hate about it?
Here, I mean, you come here, I was a very sheltered kid. My mom protected me so much. I was like this little cute fluffy baby, that was very innocent, and very sheltered. So my mom wouldn't let me go play outside because it was dirty. Like I was super clean. Like I was by her side 24/7, and to come here where it's completely different and I didn't speak English and I don't know what these kids were calling me monkey and all these names I didn't even know, and a boater, because that used to be so offensive back in the day. You don't know how to speak English, and that wasn't fun for an 11-year-old kid that didn't know what to do. He's already an outsider, so I hated school, and that was where my sports was kind of the leeway out.
Yeah.
So
now getting into sports, especially with just being with kids that were giving you a difficult time in school, were you able to find a community within sports when you were in middle school and high school?
Yeah, a little bit. In high school, I did more because I did wrestling. In middle school, it wasn't as much because my English was very broken, very bad. But sports was kind of what I was really good at, and I was really strong. I was always strong since I was a kid, and I hated hurting people. So people would pick on me, and I just let them. I didn't want to hurt nobody. I didn't want to fight nobody, because I was raised that way, to just not hurt anybody, be nice, to respect everybody no matter what. So I let people pick on me all the time when I was in middle school. High school, I became, wrestling, and I was a captain. I played soccer. I did track, baseball for a year. I wasn't good at it.
You weren't good at baseball?
No, I didn't care as much either. It was just more for fun. So I didn't put the time in.
Yeah.
I was more focused on wrestling, and I put all the time in wrestling, and I was the captain. So that was my calling, and I loved it.
Gotcha. Now, wrestling and baseball are two different seasons, right? They happen 2 different times of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
Baseball's at the end of the season.
Yeah. So that was just something to kind of fill the time
basically
wrestling seasons. Yeah.
And that's why I only did it freshman year. And then after that, I'm like, I don't want to waste my time. I did all wrestling all year.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. And so I'm assuming that with your wrestling training that you spent a lot of time in the weight room. Is that correct?
Yes, that was the reason I started. So I was I had big legs. They called me tree trunks in high school. I had a very small upper body, but I was ripped. I had a 6-pack in high school, and that was hard because I was weighing, in freshman year, I weighed 135. I graduated around 165. So I was wrestling at 160 my sophomore, junior, senior year. And these kids were strong, and that's where I started sophomore year of high school working out that summer. And after that, it was just kind of never stop. I always kept pushing. And after I finished wrestling senior year, I was like, I'm not going to wrestle college. I want to do school. I want to focus on that. So I kept working out.
Wow. And is that the point where you transitioned into bodybuilding, or did you do powerlifting, powerlifting?
No, I never even knew what powerlifting was,
till about say that you were strong as shit.
3 years ago, I knew what it was. I would just see people. So I'd be at the gym, lifting, and people would squat 3 plates, 4 plates. And I'm like, that ain't really anything special. You guys aren't strong. So I would go and do it. I squatted, I believe, 4 plates when I was 15, 16.
Wow.
Yeah. When I was a freshman, I was benching 225 for reps.
Dang.
And I've never even, the first day I stepped in the gym, people were like, can you do this? I'm like, sure. And I literally didn't even care. And I started doing it. They're like, okay, you work out? I'm like, nope, So I was always strong. And then I did bodybuilding, started at 19. I loved bodybuilding. I loved Flex Wheeler. He was kind of the person I looked up to, and he was amazing physical wise. His body was amazing, and kept going with that. And then my first bodybuilding show was, I believe, 21 or 22.
So
Yeah.
that's crazy that you got into all of that so much later than what people would have assumed. And just like having the natural genetics, right, of just being able to walk into the weight room and rep out 225 on bench without any type of, you know, training. But I'm assuming a fairly low body weight. You said what, 165, 160?
Yeah, I was a little guy. Well, freshman year I was 135.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
crazy. Speaking of bodybuilding, did you watch the Olympia?
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was crazy.
I mean,
So
everything about it was great. It's getting better and better. The physiques are getting phenomenal.
absolutely. And it was like just watching, well, both like the Rami and then the Curry situation, right? Two
Mm-hmm.
reigning Olympias from the last handful of years, like placing so low is just insane and unheard of. And then a brand new champion who's kind of been like the underdog of the sport, really, and like had so
Yeah.
many obstacles that he had to face and like came out on top in the end. Like just the story behind everything was just
Yeah,
amazing.
it's crazy. It's crazy because the first year he couldn't even get into the USA because he was
Mm-hmm.
Persian Iranian and they wouldn't give him a visa. And it's
Yeah,
like to being able to win the Olympia 3 years later, it's crazy. You
it
know,
is insane.
he doesn't even speak English.
No, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And I was watching an interview post Olympia, and it said that he's been here for like 7 or 8 weeks. So he's been away
Mhm.
from his family that whole time. You know, finally was able to get, you know, all of the things that he needed in order to get to the US and train with his coach for the last part of the prep and all of that. And just so much to sacrifice
Mhm.
and so many obstacles to overcome in order to get that. And just like the resiliency behind that is amazing.
It's not an easy sport, art,
No,
whatever you want to call it. You know,
no,
it's so difficult.
yeah.
You got to be literally be selfish, and everybody around you has to respect that and understand that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's not easy. I give all those people props. I can't do it no more.
Yeah, it's a very, very challenging sport. I mean, and like you said, it's not something that just impacts you, but it impacts everybody in your life, right? Your family, your friends, like you can say goodbye to your social life, right? Like your entire life then becomes your sport. And, you know, to some degree, that's not all that different from powerlifting either, right? Like you have to be a little bit selfish when it comes to, you know, your training and your diet, especially when you're in prep. Like those are things that you can't miss. Otherwise, you're gonna, you know, sacrifice your success at the end.
So I
So
agree. I limit my traveling around that time.
you what? I'm sorry.
I limit my traveling around when I get like 8 weeks out.
Yeah. You're starting to prep here pretty soon, aren't you?
Yeah, I actually just I never talk shit, but I was like, let me stir the pot a little bit.
Do it.
And they
Do it.
just posted the Ghost Clash
Mhm.
roster,
Yeah.
and there's 11 lifters at 242.
Wow.
So I just posted it, and I was like, so who's coming in second?
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I just posted it before I got on here.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
Um,
so
well, that's a lot of competition though.
hmm
Are they lifters that you've lifted against before? I'm assuming. I haven't seen the roster
no,
yet.
no. So I big names is Chad, John,
Sure.
um, Andrew House is gonna be there. Derek is gonna be there. Derek Thistlewaite.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So he's number 2 all time. So I'm three, and then you got me. So like it's a lot of big names, and then you got all these Philip. You got Philip who has the world record for squats now. Me and him are really cool. So we were talking. He's like, "You're about to take it," you know, and I'm like, "We'll see how that goes," you know. And he's going for 275, I believe now. So
Wow.
he went up a class, yeah, to get the
Nice.
squat record for that class. And it's a stacked lineup. Dawson, he's a young guy. I don't know if you know Dawson.
What's the last name?
I'm not sure. I don't
Yeah,
want to
it
butcher
doesn't have
his
to. I
last
have to
name.
look him up.
Yeah. So he was at the American Pro. I don't know if you were at the American Pro.
I wasn't there, but I watched the live stream.
Yeah, he was a 242 guy. He's blonde hair, blue eyes, very strong, and he's young. He has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I'll have to look him up. There's so many like really good up and coming lifters.
Hmm.
I was just at the PPC finals in LA, and it was the PPC finals were a pro-am. And if you didn't know that, you would have assumed that it was just a pro.
It
Like
looked
that,
insane. It looked pretty fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like the numbers that they were putting up were insane. Like the level of professionalism from the amateur athletes was very impressive. Like just the way that Ashley ran the entire meet was phenomenal. But I was very, very impressed by the amateurs. Like when you get to the pro level, like there's a certain expectation, right, of the pros and what you're gonna see. But just the numbers that they were putting up and the way, like even if they missed their second attempt or even their first attempt, you could tell that they were being very strategic with the attempts that they were picking. They weren't really like making emotional calls, which is difficult to do at an amateur level. You haven't really gotten to the point where you like can fully understand like the whole theory behind your attempts and all of that. So it was really impressive to see. But yeah, I'll definitely have to look that Dawson guy up.
Yeah,
For
she's
sure.
pretty cool. He was trained by, what's her name? She did physique. I'm going blank. She was a power lifter. She had a lot of records, and then she did physique. She looks phenomenal. What's her
There's a
name?
there's a couple of them. Uh,
She's small. She's smaller, shorter, white. Not Hunter or Bria or
um,
Briani. I suck with names.
that's fine. We can look it up, I'm sure. We'll find it.
I
Well,
swear, I suck.
I'll look it up after this and then I'll put the name in the show notes
Okay,
for people who are curious.
I'll send you one.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, for your prep that's coming up, is there anything for this prep that you're doing differently, or you're trying a new approach, or are you pretty much being consistent with the way that you're prepping for this?
Well, honestly, most people don't really know, but when I was in nursing school the
Mhm.
last 2 years, so I have never done a full prep.
Congrats on passing your boards, by the way.
Thank you so much.
You're
It's a
welcome.
nice relief. I feel
Sure.
like myself now. I swear, my brain was always occupied. I would be here, but not really be here,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Um, but yeah, so after that, my last 3 meets that I've done, or 4 meets, none of them was full prep meets. I've never done my back offsets. I didn't do my accessories. So I was basically just trying to get by because I
Gotcha.
don't have time and I would be
Yeah.
limited on my workout time. So the
Sure.
biggest different thing now is that I'm doing my full workouts, and I already can tell a difference. I'm doing all my back offs accessories, and we're approaching it very differently, and my mindset is a lot different.
I'm
you know
sure.
I'm a
Have a
lot
lot more
slower
mental
when I work
capacity to
out.
focus.
Yeah. And my patience is very nice. And I'm not trying to push numbers and then just executing right now. And I know the numbers will be there.
Absolutely. It's when it comes to a prep or just, any type of training, whether you're in season, off season, whatever, all of the little details, like when it comes to the accessories and the mobility and, all the other things that do take a lot of time that it's very easy to say, oh, I can just do that later, or it's not that big of a
Mhm.
deal. Like those are really the things that make the biggest difference.
Oh yeah. I mean, I always brag about back offsets. When I don't do back offsets, I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't do my accessories, I can tell. I start to struggle with my top numbers, my top singles. They feel harder. When I do all my workouts, when I'm hitting my PRs, usually I've done all my workouts.
Yeah,
So you can tell the difference.
absolutely. So are you planning on breaking any records at the Ghost Clash?
I will be going for the squat record, which
Mm-hmm.
is 870. So I'm hoping to hit that on my second attempt if my
Wow.
coach lets me. Yeah,
And who's
I'm
coaching
hoping.
you?
Joe game day, Joe
Gotcha.
Stank.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Yeah,
Very cool.
and also be going for the total. I'm always going to be going for the total.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
One thing that you had told me when we were in Chicago was that you have never gotten your third attempt deadlift ever.
No,
Do you
I mean,
anticipate that trend continuing, or do you think that you're going to break that cycle?
no, I think I'm gonna break it this coming around because we've been working on my grip, and it's usually not even strength. I always smoke my deadlift, and right when it comes to lockout, my hands just open up and grip gives out. So we've been working on that a lot, and that has changed. One of the things that we've changed a lot is focusing on grip because I can probably deadlift 900 if I have good grip, but
Right.
my grip can only hold so much. So that's one thing we're working on, and I think it's going to show up on that day. And if
That's
we hit
awesome.
that third deadlift, I think I got the world record.
That's awesome. Are you doing a hook grip or do you do alternating grip?
No, I do alternating.
Alternating. Have you tried hook grip?
Yeah, I got short ass thumbs.
Just mechanically not there. It's so
No,
painful though. Like it is so uncomfortable, that hook grip. I don't know how people do it.
I mean, I got used to it and I did it for a whole year. So like people are like, no, you can do it. I'm like, I did it for a whole year. I experienced every single way, you know, and it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And whenever it like hooked and it worked, my quads are so big that it would hit the bottom of my fingers and it would open my hook.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
so physically, everything is just not meant to happen that way.
Yeah. Well, typically for, guys that are your size, like the deadlift is really not where you shine. The squat is where you shine.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty common. What have you been doing to improve your grip? Anything specific?
We've been doing pauses and long holds.
Those are always fun.
I hate them.
I,
When I first started, I overshot and I thought I could do 600 pounds, 4 sets of 5, a
Sure.
pause and a 10-second hold. I was only able to do 2 reps. And I'm like, this is horrible. Like, I'm that weak. My grip is that bad, And now I can do 675, probably 700.
Wow. Well, definitely an improvement.
Huge.
One thing that I always say is you're only as strong as your greatest weakness, right? So for you on the deadlift, it has nothing to do with like your physical strength. It has everything to do with your grit, but I'm not going to say that you haven't been training that or avoiding it or anything, but if you don't address those weaknesses, that is always going to be a limitation for you. And I think that, going back to the conversation that we had about the accessories and mobility and all of that extra work that comes into it outside of just the barbell training, like those are the things that are really going to help to move the needle, because they are going to be so specific and target that one little area that very well could be holding you back from adding weight onto your barbell.
I agree. But for me, like, I think it's different a little bit because my strength went up so quick that my grip did not go up with my strength as fast.
Yeah.
It went up slowly.
Yeah.
So it was just not working the way it should have, which I'm not complaining about my strength going up so quick.
Yeah.
So
That's
just
definitely
gotta put more emphasis on the grip to get it up there as quick. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you'll definitely get there. I'm excited to watch it. The ghost class is going to be live stream, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
And
When that
her whole squad will be there.
Anna's doing, yeah, I figured. That's awesome. Well, hopefully I'll be there. And try and make it for sure. Speaking of Anna, like the one thing that I've really noticed in the sport over the last, like, we'll call it 2 years or so, is the level of professionalism from the way that the meets are run. And, there's a lot of conversation as to why powerlifting is not like a professional sport in terms of like being on ESPN. And there's a million different reasons for that. But, over the last few years, we've definitely seen a huge improvement as far as like the professionalism within the sport, not just with the athletes, but the meet directors and the staff that run the meets. On the athlete side, have you noticed a significant shift?
And a little bit, not so much. I mean, I would say I would agree and disagree with you on some aspects, because I would say I think a lot of the production, a lot of certain meet directors do the work,
Yes.
but we need the whole, right? Like there's meets that, for example, the American Pro, I think is the best kind of promoted meet, and everybody, when it's done, everybody puts up this hype of, oh, we're going to do similar promotions, and then this big wave of the hype goes up, and then literally a couple of weeks it dies down, and then we have nobody talking. And that's the difference between, say, for example, UFC does pay-per-view, right? They weren't on ESPN, they weren't on all these channels, but they were always promoting. The promoters were always working, promoting. You don't have a little go up and down, and it's like always consistently being promoted, so it got out there. With us, we have a big meet, we promote it, and then we die down. Nobody talks about nothing, and that comes from the meet directors and everybody that wants to run meets. But I feel like some people do it for the wrong reasons. They want to make money, but then they talk about, oh, we want this sport to be on ESPN. It's like, you got to give, And then the athletes, same thing. They say they want to make it a show and have fun, but nobody just wants to see big guys just lift and walk off the stage. Like, you got to put on a show. People, especially if you want to make it fun, we can't charge $50 to $100 tickets at the door if you're just lifting and walking away.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's where I think people need to improve a little bit and open up. I feel like people are too scared to be themselves.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people are very different on the platform than they are in the training room or in the weight room, right? Like you, for example, you put on an entire show when you lift. And you hype up the crowd, you bring the energy, and even when you're not competing, like you have no issues grabbing the mic from the MC and like hyping up the room, which I absolutely love. Yeah. So are you saying then that some of it does fall on the athletes as well to like actually put on a show for the spectators?
Yes, of course. I mean, the athletes is the biggest chunk of it.
Sure.
You know, the promoters are a little bit of it. The athletes are is the big image because they are the ones being watched, you know. So to me, even if you ask me who do you like to watch, like I would, it would be a handful. Not that many people I want to watch, and not many meets I want to go to watch or spectate. Because me, even as an athlete who does powerlifting, I don't even care to watch it like that because it's boring, right?
Yeah.
So how are people that are spectators don't understand what we do are going to come and be like, yeah, I want to watch this powerlifter. Like, no, it's first of all, it's too long, 5 to 7 hours.
Yeah.
You know, and people don't have that patience. So it's like the USPA Pro, I think was ran great because it was about 4 hours, you know, and then everybody was a kind of a character, you know. So it kind of made it more fun to watch. It was quicker, faster, you know, there's more people showing emotions. And it's not a bad thing to show emotions, you know. Like Joe Sullivan is somebody I love watching. He shows emotions. He's not a crazy screamer, but he comes out and does the hands up and talks to the crowd, and you make him feel involved.
Absolutely. And you're right, like powerlifting, just watching it, even as an athlete and a coach, like it can get really freaking boring. And so if you think, you know, someone who doesn't have any understanding of the sport is watching it because, you know, their friend or their son or whatever is an athlete, like they get excited for the 1 minute that they're up on the platform, and then everything else is like, okay, whatever. Right. So I think that you're right. Like you definitely need to increase the level of energy, excitement, and showmanship. However, I think that some meet directors now are taking it a little too far to the point where like they're bringing in all of these extra things to like, you know, be showy and trying to create that excitement. However, they're lacking on all of the logistical things that have to go into the meet. And so it's almost like, oh, look at all these pretty things, but don't look at all this over here, you know? And there's such a wide range, right? Like some people do it extremely well. And then there's, you know, other people that are definitely falling a little bit short.
I agree. I mean, I won't name people, but I know so many directors that you know, I don't care. I name everybody. I won't name people out here though. But
don't get me in trouble.
no, I don't want to get you in trouble. I'm blunt. I'm blunt with everybody. I'm just very open about everything, and I speak my mind, and I think people like that about me. Some people don't. But it is what it is. But I agree. Some people like try to put up this whole image, and it's like we don't focus on the real aspect that we need, which is the show, which is the athletes that lift, you know. And maybe you should start doing rules where, you know, show emotion, do this, do that. I don't think that would be a bad thing, having a like athletes meet and like, hey, give the people a show a little bit. I know you're focused, you want to lift, you know. Once you get your lift done, you got nothing to lose to, you know, give a little fist pump, you know, give a little, like, you don't need to be me and crazy about it and, you know, yell and stuff like that, but you can do a little bit of something to add a little spice to the show, you know.
You know, one thing that Anna and I were talking about was almost doing it like how pay-per-view does it for like MMA or boxing or any of that, how the athletes, you know, depending on how many people get brought to either the pay-per-view or the actual live event for that athlete will depend on how they get paid.
That would be great.
Like working out some type of structure to where it's very similar to that.
Yeah. Or you could have like a voting system where people will talk about who is the most excited person they want to watch. And then from there, you can go like, okay, this person gets this cut, right? So now people see there is money about it. Now people are going to start chasing it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Ashley did that at the PPC finals. At the end of it, like we did a crowd vote for like the most hype lift. And that person, like, you know, got a special prize, and it was given to both the amateurs and the pros, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity within the sport, but I do think it's come a long way. But with that being said, I think there's a very small few that are leading the charge on that and definitely moving the needle. But definitely need to get the community as a whole moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that's the only thing. We're all like, sometimes they argue against each other about federations, and I'm like, we're all powerlifters. Like, people don't know federations. We do. People outside of it don't know shit about that stuff. So
Absolutely. It's like, oh, you can, the biggest difference is you can have your heels up in this one on the bench and you can't on the other one. Like,
Yeah, that's the dumbest differences.
yeah,
People don't
absolutely.
even know like difference between bars. We're over here like, yeah, you use a power bar, I use a squat bar, and it's like it don't matter. Weight is weight, you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
I was watching a different podcast that you had done, and you had said that before, weight is weight, talking about like the way that you move an empty bar compared to like, you know, a 600-pound squat, 800-pound squat, whatever it is. And like, as I watch your training videos and like, you know, seeing you lift, that is very true. Like you are so incredibly consistent in the way that you move weight, regardless of what weight it actually is.
I feel like that's one thing people mistaken is that like, and a lot of injuries I feel like happen because of this,
Mm-hmm.
and people not treating, you know, like warm ups because most people get hurt on what
Oh yeah.
225,
Yeah.
their last warm up, their second warm up, and it's like, yeah, because you're not locked in mentally. Like to
Mm-hmm.
me, it's, and this is where the muffin comes in, the music comes in, where I don't always post it, but I'm always partying before the gym, and it's turning on that switch that it's time to go there, right? And it's for me, I've always told people that what's the best advice you can give? And I'm like, treat your warm up, you're the empty bar as a max squat, like you're about to go for 800, 900 pounds. If you do that little mistake here, you might do it up there. So it's, and the body's used to, the mind is kind of used to repetition. The more
Absolutely.
you repeat things, the better you get at
Absolutely. And one of the things that I cannot stand hearing is, oh, it'll be there on meet day or it'll happen on the platforms. Like, no, if you're not training it, how are you expecting your body to do something that you haven't trained it to do while
it.
you have max weight, while you're trying to move max weight? Like that just does logically, that doesn't make any sense to me. Right. Because especially like, you know, deadlifts, for example, typically when you're going, you know, plus 100%, right, your form's going to break down anyway. You know, that it usually looks like garbage. But if you don't train the repetition, like your body's not going to know what to do when it needs to. And
No,
that's something that a lot of people don't think about.
I feel like people just want to tell themselves something just to make themselves feel better sometimes when they fail.
Yeah,
And that's kind of a way to tell myself like, yeah, I'll be okay on meet day, you know, when in reality you should even go for it on meet day, you know.
absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah. The people always seem to have a reason as to why they got red lighted. There's always a reason. And
I've
when I
never
say
been red
reason, I
lighted.
mean excuse. And I cannot stand that.
Yeah, like I said, people want every single thing to point fingers on everybody, and like that's another thing that I talk about. And a lot of people are like, "You haven't broken records yet," and I'm like, they're like, "You sticking with your coach?" And I'm like, it's not my coach's fault that I haven't broken records.
Yeah.
That's my fault, you know. And
Yeah.
that's what a lot of athletes fall is they don't take their own responsibilities on what they're doing. Because if you're skipping one set, one rep, you know, whatever the case is, then it's your fault,
Mm-hmm.
plain and simple, you know.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And you already said that, you know, in your previous preps, there were a lot of things that you were skipping. So why would that fall on the coach? Right. Because I'm sure he's
exactly,
programming all that stuff in there for you to do because he knows that you should
yeah,
be doing it. Right. But there's a
exactly.
reason why you weren't doing it, which is why you haven't broken any records yet.
Hmm.
So yeah, a lot of people don't take that. And like, you know, when they get, you know, depth calls on the squat, you know, there's always, oh, the judges are just being hard. I'm like, well, you shouldn't leave it up to them in the first place. Like if you're training
Hmm.
at or below the standard, there should be no question. And if you have to ask, is this to depth? Then the answer is no.
I mean, I literally have seen that in person. When I used to work out at Surge, I had a friend going for the world record.
Mm-hmm.
And every squat he did at the gym was high. And we all told him, like, hey, you're high, you're high. He's like, I'll sink it on meet day. I'll sink it on meet day. Meet day comes, he bombed out.
Yeah.
He missed every single squat,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So it's if you're not hitting depth on training, which is the easiest way to hit depth because there's no pressure. You know,
Exactly.
you're not gonna hit it while there's people staring at you and judges judging, you know?
Absolutely. And, you know, some people thrive under pressure and some people don't. But regardless, you shouldn't, you know, leave that to chance because 99% of the time it's not going to happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you thrive under pressure at meets?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It gives me like the butterflies, and then I have to live up to this expectation, which I feel like usually I have higher expectations of myself than people do. I just never talk about it, and it feels good. Like this is your time. This is your moment that you have to do this. And I feel like sometimes I do get lifts just because of the pressure of
Sure.
the moment.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, usually when you're on the platform, like there's so many other factors that are involved that you don't have during training. Like you have the adrenaline, you have the extra pressure from the crowd and the judges. You're probably eating a lot more sugar than you normally do, taking a lot more caffeine than you normally do, and like all these other things that are giving you this extra boost that you can't recreate that exact moment in training. Right. So, but some people don't do very well under those circumstances, and some of the first time competitors that I'll work with, they don't feel comfortable in that situation, right? And then they realize like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I just want to train like a powerlifter, but I don't want to compete, which is totally fine too. But it's just interesting to see how different people react under those circumstances.
Well, many people you think I was always like this. I used to hate the spotlight.
Yeah.
Growing up, I wanted to be left alone. I wanted to be in my corner. And that was kind of what drawed me to bodybuilding, because bodybuilding was just your headphones on, hoodie on, you do your own thing. You don't
Yep.
talk to anybody. So now I'm kind of complete opposite. Like I thrive off of it. I enjoy it. I don't look for it, but when it gives me the opportunity, I don't shy away or get embarrassed or be like, I don't want it.
Sure.
I'll do it because I've taught myself to accept it. You're something special, you're something extraordinary. So be of the moment, be part of it, live in the moment.
Absolutely. And you have so many people that look up to you as well. And like you are a lifting role model for a lot of people. And I think that you hold that in high regard.
It's humbling. I mean, when you say it, sometimes it doesn't even process in my head, because to me, I'm just a normal guy. I got a normal job. I wake up every day like everybody else. So like people looking up to me, come up to me and stuff. It's like sometimes I don't know what to say. I always say thank you and stuff, but that's the words that come out. But in my head, I'm like, I don't really get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the guy in Tampa that waited in the gym for, however many hours for you to show up
Yeah,
to
that
talk to
was
you for 5
dumb.
minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you get people like wanting to take pictures with you all the time?
Yeah, it's pretty funny when people ask me for pictures. Somebody asked me to autograph their belts at the meets. I've
Wow.
had people do that, so I'm like, I don't have the prettiest autograph. I have some ugly ass handwriting. you know,
Well, we'll call it unique, not ugly. How about that?
You can call it that. I'll stick to ugly.
Trying to help you out, man.
It's okay. I can be honest with myself. I never had nice handwriting.
Was it difficult to learn how to write in English? Because like the printing is so different from Arabic.
Well, it's opposite sides. So in Arabic, you go from right
Right
to
to left.
left to right. English, you go where? Left to right, right?
Yeah.
That's opposite.
So Arabic
Got me
is
thinking.
right to left, and then English is left to right.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So it was a
I,
little bit difficult.
I actually did not know that. I thought
Mhm.
Arabic was left to right, but yeah, that I find Arabic to be such an interesting language. And the friend that I had that's also from Syria, like he's tried to teach me a couple words, and just like the sound, like I can't get the sound. Like those sounds don't exist in English. And I'm like,
And yeah,
I
you don't
can't
have a
even like,
lot of letters.
yeah. It's like I can't
Mhm.
even remotely recreate that word. You know what I mean? It's just
Mhm.
so different. But granted, I also haven't spent a lot of time trying to learn it either. So if I dedicated some time, I'm sure I could, but it is very, very different from English.
I
So
agree. It's very
props to
difficult.
you for being able to learn English and speak it so well.
I mean, I suck in both languages now, so don't give me props. I ruined them both.
Is it now within your family, do you still speak a lot of Arabic, like in your household and with your parents and everything? Or do they
It's
speak
a
English?
mixture,
Gotcha. It's kind of like
yeah,
Spanglish.
basically.
Gotcha. I don't know what that fusion would be called, but
Air English? I don't know.
oh,
We'll go with that.
we'll coin it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a fusion between the two.
Hmm.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
Yes, there's
Uh,
some words that I know in Arabic that I don't know in English, or it doesn't have a translation, so I'll say
yeah,
that,
gotcha.
and vice versa.
Gotcha. Yeah, when we were on the live stream at Chicago, I said a word and you asked me what it was. Do you remember what it
I
was?
forgot. No, it was hard.
Methodical.
Yeah,
Methodical.
see, it's methodical.
Methodical.
I got to
Um,
make a shirt that says that.
you have to make a shirt. Please do.
Yeah, yeah, I'll make a shirt that says that.
Cool. I'll make sure to buy one. I'll rep it for you.
I got
I
you.
still need to get one of your sweatshirts. Actually, that purple one that you just launched, I love that one.
The one that I just posted.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a lot of new colors that I'm making that are really nice. This is the light pink one.
Nice. So what was the inspiration behind the GymFreak brand?
Well, I called myself the GymFreak from like a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first name I gave myself. And that kind of how I started. People always called me a gym freak because I like would skip so many things to go to the gym. And I always lifted like crazy weights from like the get-go. I always squatted over 5 plates. I always deadlifted over 5 plates. So people were like, "You're a freak, you know, you're a gym freak." And then it became a thing. And I named myself that. And then it kind of picked up at gyms. People were like, "The gym freak is here, this and that." And then it became a thing where people loved it. And then I was like, I like this name, you know? So, and I've always made shirts for meets. And whenever I make shirts, people are like, I want one, I want one. And usually I do pre-orders. So people don't really get to see what I make until
Sure.
I printed it. And so eventually I was like, you know what? You know, I want to make my own clothes because everything I buy either shrinks, doesn't fit right, or, you know, overpriced. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to find my own fabrics. I'm going to do my own thing and make my own stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love the stuff that you've been putting out, and the new colors that you were showing. I really, really like them. With like getting into the whole clothing thing, it sounds like it just kind of happened and like evolved naturally over time. But do you have a long-term goal for the GymFreak as a brand?
I hope that I can make it big enough where I can sponsor people, you know, sponsor meets. I would love to have a GymFreak meet. That would
That'd be
kind of be
awesome.
dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be dope. I would probably have a big money prize. I would only do first place winners. You know, I'd kind of do it very differently. I would love to have people work for me for the brand where I don't have to do anything other than the designs instead of me right now doing everything.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully that's the goal.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Can't wait for that. So you doing everything, right? You have your hands full with, well, you're done with nursing school now, done with the boards and everything, but full-time job, competitive power lifter, all these other things. How do you prioritize your time? That way you can get everything done and you're able to like hit all of those goals.
Honestly, I have a great circle around me. I'm very respectful. I show people appreciation. I try to make time for all my friends, family, everybody around me. And I just don't waste my time on anything that is like not valuable to me, you know.
Yeah.
So like my time is very like predicted with what I'm gonna do. My schedule is always set to certain things, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like my workout, my work. When I work, everybody knows I'm working and I'm busy. You know, when I'm off, I know I can make clothes, designs, and go to the gym when I got time. We go out and eat. I don't hang out with friends every day like most people. You know, we hang out when we can, and we're all trying to make it and succeed in our
Sure.
own ways. So we all support each other.
Yeah. I think it's really important to have those types of people in your life that are, have the same type of lifestyle, same type of goals, whether it's, powerlifting goals or whatever, it doesn't matter, but just like working towards something and have a mutual understanding that, we don't have time to hang out all the time, but when we do, we're going to make it really special.
I agree. I have friends that I don't talk to sometimes for like, I have a friend that I haven't talked to in like 6, 7 months, and he called me yesterday, and he's opening up a food truck. And he wanted me to be a part of it and stuff, you know. And I'm like, I would love to help. Let's do it and stuff. And we haven't talked in 6 months, and he's been working on that. But he's also been keeping up with everything I'm doing. So like, you don't need to like. That's the type of friends I have. We don't need to talk every day, but when we do talk, it feels like we've been talking every day. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah. All my friends are like that too. What type of food truck is he opening?
A burger. Food
Ooh,
truck.
nice. Nice. Is that in Michigan? What? I don't know if it is.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I wouldn't think that food trucks would be very popular, especially this time of year in Michigan.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Really? Even with how cold? Well, I guess people from Michigan are used to the cold, yeah.
Yeah, it's normal.
Yeah. Well, people like me that are from California, I'm like, no.
Yeah,
No,
it's
thank you.
to me it's too hot over there.
Yeah. Well, it's funny moving to Tennessee where you have 4 very distinct seasons. I moved from California to Nashville. I think it was January 6 years ago. And like the day that I got to Nashville, it was 19 degrees. And then the next day it snowed. And I'm like, what the hell is this?
It's bipolar.
Yeah, no, can't do it. But I've kind of gotten used to it now. But the super cold in the winter and then the humidity in the summer was definitely took some getting used to.
Mm-hmm. I like it to a point, you know, I
Yeah.
like having the cold and stuff, but I don't like the freezing.
Yeah.
When we get to 0 and it starts to freeze and it hurts, and I'm like, nah,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I also don't like it too hot when it's like 90 and I'm sweating just standing. So it's like, you know, I like a happy middle.
Yeah. It's like, let's do, a nice clear 75, maybe a little breeze here and there. Like, that's perfect.
Yeah, like I like spring because it gets chilly at night, warm in the day,
Mm-hmm.
and fall. Fall is similar, you know.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, in California, it cools off a lot at night, even if it's really hot in the day. It does not stay hot at night. And in the South, it stays hot at night. I'm like, how is it 90 degrees with no sun out? I don't understand how that works.
Yeah, it sucks.
But it does
Florida's
somehow.
horrible.
Yeah, it's not pleasant, but you
No.
get used to it over the years. So it gets
Yeah,
less
your body
miserable.
adapts.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
I agree.
Well, we've been talking for almost an hour, my friend. My goodness. Um,
Sorry, I talk a
no,
lot.
time flies. I have all the time in the world. Are you kidding me? But before we depart here, I always like to have people like share one bit of advice for like up and coming lifters, either lifters who are just starting or lifters who are trying to like get to that elite level. Like, what is one piece of advice that you would give for those people?
Honestly, I would say most advice I give wouldn't even just be lifting advice. I would say their life advice because everything I take into lifting, I take into my life as well.
Absolutely.
And that's learning how to be patient, you know, and having priorities and actually being yourself and do what you love. Many people nowadays try to fit in and do what is, you know, everybody's doing and what is hot in the moment. And you would fall out of love with that real quick. And you
Mm-hmm.
start to realize you wasted so much time doing something you don't even love instead of doing something you love, and everybody's going to support that because they're going to see the genuine, you know, love you have for that thing that you do. So do what you love, stay patient, and you know, chase your dreams and be true to yourself. Don't put up a front and be fake, you know.
Absolutely. That's not sustainable. And
No.
and usually if you are trying to be fake, you're just trying to be like everybody else who is also being fake. And just
Mm-hmm.
nobody cares about that.
No, you live once, you know, and then we're all gonna, when you go away and you die, you know, nobody really remembers you. So why not enjoy your life for yourself before you try
Absolutely.
to live it for people who don't matter, like on Instagram? Like many people do that and it's just sad, you know.
It really is.
So,
Awesome. I appreciate your time. This was so much fun.
for sure.
Um, by the time this airs, I think you're going to be a couple weeks into prep. So looking forward to getting those updates. But I'm going to put your GymFreak information in the notes of this podcast. I'm going to put your Instagram in the notes of this podcast. Is it cool if people reach out to you if they have any additional questions or want to
Yeah,
get some
for sure.
additional advice from you?
Yeah, of course they can reach out whenever they want. I'm not the best at replying because I'm not always on Instagram. You know, I have it muted so that way it's not popping on my phone, but
Yep.
I'll try my best.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you, friend.
Thank you. I'll see you.
Bye bye.
Bye.